Hello, welcome to today's poem, which is Sheep and Fog, the third poem in Sylvia Plath's aerial poetry collection. So I'm skipping the chorus because I don't get it completely, so I don't feel comfortable making a video about it. So let's start with Sheep and Fog. So let's just read the title first and see what we can infer from it. So, Sheep and Fog. Sheep is an animal, a domestic animal. It's naive and it's known for being in herds, right? So sheep are usually in what? In herds. And they're not meant to be alone. Usually they're passive, so there is a sense already of weakness or submissiveness, okay? And there is a sense of lack of control, okay? In fog is unclarity, confusion, delusion, and it's all from an external source, something that you cannot control. It's all externally, right? All this unclearness is coming from an external source, so it might feel like something you cannot control, or also it might be, I forgot what I was going to say, so give me a second to remember. Yeah, or it might be from within, like uncertainty towards the external, okay? So I'm just gonna read the poem first and then we'll delve into it. Sheep and Fog. The hills step off into whiteness. People or stars regard me sadly. I disappoint them. The train leaves a line of breath. Oh, slow horse, the color of rust. Hooves, dolorous bells. All morning the morning has been blackening. A flower left out. My bones hold a stillness. The far fields melt my heart. They threaten to let me through to a heaven starless and fatherless. A dark water. Okay, so it's made of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stanzas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 stanzas. So let's start with the first one, okay? The hills step off into whiteness. Okay, so the hills step off into whiteness. So there is a transformation here from into, right? A transformation of a person to hopelessness or to a blurring of the identity, okay? So there's, the hills that were once clear are now, foggy. They're white. You cannot see where you're going, right? People or stars regard me sadly. I disappoint them. So people or stars, there is a sense of uncertainty. Are they people or are they stars? She's not sure, which means that she's uncertain, which usually comes with failure. So she feels like she has failed herself, or these people are stars. They regard her, oops. They regard her sadly, okay? God. They regard her sadly. So here it seems like the people or the stars are judging her. There is a spectacle and they're watching her, okay? So it's as if they're above the speaker, as if they're judging and they're discerning, is the speaker fit for something or not, okay? So they regard her sadly. It's like they disappointed them, right? So yeah, she disappointed them. I disappoint them. So sadly, expected better things from her. There is a double, like she's saying, sadly disappointed them, which emphasizes this feeling, okay? Okay, so let's just take a pause here, that now that we're done the first stanza. The speaker here, you can tell maybe the speaker is the sheep. So there's and it reflects this lost, uncertain, frustrated, pathetic, and perhaps sad speaker. But however, I thought this was it at first, but then when I read more into it, I read that once Sylvia Plath said on the radio that Sheep in the Fog is about her, or the speaker, riding a horse into the hills. I think that's what she said. But the thing is, she's riding a horse, or a person's riding a horse, so the speaker is riding a horse, so there's no sheep, okay? So I thought at the beginning that the speaker is a sheep, but no, it's not. Okay, so what we can tell from the first stanza now is that A, there is unclarity. Okay, there is something unclear. There is disappointment. And there is, what is there? Yeah, there is a feeling of isolation. Okay, how can we get this? Where did I get this feeling of isolation from? Because when she says people or stars regard me sadly, it's like she's far from them, or they're not on the same level. Okay, they're different. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the second stanza. The train leaves a line of breath. Oh, slow horse, the color of rust. So here, the train, and notice here that it's a definite article, just like the hills. So she's being specific about the train. The train leaves a line of breath. The train, which is fast, leaves a line of breath, which is lingering, okay, which is slow. It's what remains of this train that, goes, and that's fleeting, okay, when it's on, anyways. So, here, the train leaves, there's a sense of abandonment and isolation, okay? A line of breath. So maybe what a line of breath is esteem, okay? It's personification, okay? So this might mean that the train is an event or life, the current life, or what's happening, like events leaving, because they're fleeting, right? You cannot relive them. But this line of breath is what lingers of them, your thoughts, or when you're thinking about them. Or it might just mean that everything is connected, right? And the past, the train, affects the future. So there is a line of, it still remains right that the event itself, the past itself is not here, because it's the present. But what remains of the past and the present is the line of breath. This might be one interpretation of it, of course, not for sure. Another thing, I saw it in a different way too, is that the train resembles time in a sense. So time is running, or she ran out of time, or there's like no more attempts left, okay? She attempted something and she failed, and there's no more, that's it. The train left, a line of breath is lingering, okay? Oh, slow horse, the color of rust. So horses are known for being fast, right? So she's saying, oh, slow horse, which is the same as what's happening with the train, right? The train leaves a line of breath. The train is fast, yet it lingers, right? Here, a horse is fast, yet it's called slow. The color of rust, so it's decaying. It's been through a lot. Something rusts when it's been through a lot, when it struggled or has been put under harsh circumstances, okay? So maybe the horse that she's riding is the color of rust, which resembles her and the things that she's been through and the places she's been to, and everything that's happened to her is shown through the horse she's riding. Hooves, dolorous bells, all morning, the morning has been blackening. Okay, I cannot read this. Okay, whatever. Okay, so here hooves, which usually indicates speed, but in this case it's not. Okay, it's foreshadowing what's to happen, like something bad that will happen soon. The dolorous bells too. Okay, so the hooves acting as dolorous bells instead of something good, because usually when you hear hooves, it's like, oh, someone came back. Not usually. Maybe at that time, it's someone came back, or not at that time. I think they had cars. I'm not sure. I don't know. No, yeah, they definitely had cars. Yeah. So hooves, like, it's excitement, it's life, it's horseback riding. It's hooves are of life and energy and movement and not faltering. Okay, yet here it's acting as dolorous bells, okay? All morning, the morning has been blackening. So here also there is an oxymoron where the morning, which is supposed to be bright, especially in the morning and as the sun rises, instead it's been blackening, okay? So why not brighter? So she feels like, something on the side. The fact that she sees everything the opposite, like the train lingering, the horse slow, the hooves dolorous, the morning blackening, might indicate also, and might deepen into the isolation, the theme of isolation that we're exploring in this poem, that is being explored in this poem, because it's like she does not live the world that we live in, or she does not see the world as we see it. Like, yes, in the normal world, trains are fast and they do not linger. Yet in her world, she sees them as lingering. Not necessarily that she sees them, but that's the way that she depicts them on purpose, to show that even her world is different and she feels isolated from the rest of the world, right? It might be that too. Anyways, back to the all morning. So all morning, the morning has been blackening as in death. So all morning, the morning has been approaching death. A flower left out, and we do know about flowers is that what we know about flowers is that they usually grow together. You never like find a single flower growing alone, spontaneously, especially unless someone planted a seed. I think even then it would grow into a bigger group. Yet here a flower is left out, so the theme of isolation reoccurs too. So isolation and abandonment. My bones hold a stillness, the far fields melt my heart. So my bones hold a stillness. So bones are like the factory of the body. Like, they create lots of cells and they have stem cells, and basically, they're alive and they're there and they exist and they have factories within them. Yet here they're still, okay, which is an opposite. Also, bones are heavy, right? Your whole weight relies on your bones. Your bones is the only thing that's holding you up, okay? And it's the basic structure of your body that holds you together, right? So without our bones, we wouldn't have a body like that stands up straight, that's held together. So here she might be saying that, my core, what I'm made of, my bones, what's holding me together is still, right? And no longer questions or no longer has a voice or whatever. No, it's just still, it's nothing. It's numb. So yeah, and maybe it might indicate that bones is like the soul or how she sees life or whatever. So the far fields melt my heart. Yet here she says the far fields melt my heart. Is this positive or negative? I don't know. Is she longing? So the far fields melt my heart. And something that's out of her reach. So the only positive thing that's been here so far is perhaps positive. It's not like a sure positive, a maybe positive. That's been in this poem is something that is far, that is out of her reach. Okay. They threaten to let me through to a heaven starless and fatherless, a dark water. Okay, so they threaten. Who are they? Perhaps the people or the stars. Okay, oops. The people or the stars that were regarding her, that were assessing her, right? So they threaten her with what? With death. So they threaten to let me through a heaven, yet this heaven is starless and fatherless. So there's no higher power in heaven or family in this specific heaven, like no order of family in this specific heaven. So is it really heaven? Right? Or is this what heaven is to her? No. So it's a dark water, it's death, and it's bleak, and it's unexplored. It's a depth that is unexplored, and she's not excited or willing to explore. So even death is of no solace to her here. So they threaten to let me through to a heaven starless and fatherless, a dark water. Okay, so now that we're done, I just think that it's important to note that Sheep and Fog was written on December 1962, okay? And a month later, January 1963, Sylvia Plath went to her GP and talked to him about, or her, I'm not sure, about depression, about her depression, and for the first time ever told him about her suicide attempt 10 years ago. So I think this is important to note because this poem talks a lot about isolation and depression, and feeling of isolation and abandonment, like you do not belong and you're not here entirely, and this world is not quite right and you're not living it quite like the others, right? So this might be one thing. What else? Let me just see. So this poem reflects her state of mind. There's a growing uncertainty in the speaker's life. Isolation and a desire for companionship are two important themes, as well as depression. Okay, so isolation, abandonment, plus death. Okay, so death and feeling nothing towards death, right? There, like, death is no more or no longer a solace, right? So usually people who are depressed would want to die because they just don't see the reason to not to, right? Or to live, so they just want nothing. Yet here, this nothing is unexplored, so she doesn't quite want to explore it. Even she doesn't want to delve into its depths, even she's that tired and that abandoned and isolated. So yes, this was today's poem. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really sleepy. Anyways, see you later. The applicant seems a bit long. I hope it won't take long. Anyways, bye. Love ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.